Belgium 2, England 0. Very frustrating. Very England, actually. It has to be said. Where can I start? Look, the title says it all. I thought Jack Grealish was absolutely fantastic. But if you joined us in the preview show a couple of hours before kickoff, we all said more or less the same thing, which was it was too defensive. Not only that, there wasn't enough pace to get through to give us any sort of punch at all. I've said before, look, this is the same formation that West Ham play. When West Ham play, if Antonio's not playing, it doesn't function. Why doesn't it function? Not just because he hasn't got not just because of his work rate, it's his pace as well. You can't have no pace in the team. And you had a front line today with Grealish, Harry Kane, and Mason Mount, and there was no pace there at all. What baffles me is why didn't Gareth Southgate know this? Why do I know this? Why did so many of you guys who joined us for the preview know that we didn't have enough pace? I mean, he's an established manager. He's a technical director, but it was too cautious, far too cautious. And I actually wrote down after 25 minutes, I actually wrote down on my notes, Southgate needs to change. It was quite obvious that he needed to change it. I actually felt sorry for Harry Kane today. Actually, I felt sorry for a lot of the team because there's no doubt about it. He's a fantastic player, Harry Kane. He really is. But when he was dropping deep to pick up the ball, what he really needs is at least one fast player next to him and running past him, running beyond those defenders. And those defenders were so confident in our lack of pace that they were able to hold their line knowing that we really only had one way to play, and that was to play short, little, small passes. And when you're doing that, you need a real creative hub in the middle. And we didn't have a creative hub in the middle. We didn't. You know, bless them. We had Declan Rice and we had Jordan Henderson. And when he did eventually start to make the change, I'm going to go into things in a little bit more detail in a minute. I mean, I'm sorry, I can see Alan's just popped up and he said he's run out of ideas. Alan, I think, is talking about, he's talking about Southgate, but actually the team had run out of ideas. When he did go and change it and he brought Winks on, which is basically somebody who can pass it a little bit neater than either Rice or Henderson, he hadn't really identified the problem and what was happening. This was not he didn't have the personnel to play this formation. If he was going to play this formation, then you got to have the fast players, and he should have started Sancho. Now, I am aware that Sancho came on, and we did look better in the second half. It didn't make a massive impact, but we had no outlet. We had no outball there. And because of that, it was just too cautious. It was far too cautious. What Mason Mount was doing, basically playing as an inside right, I don't know. I felt sorry for him. I was embarrassed for him. The other day against Ireland, he played well in the middle, and we lacked creativity in the middle. And I just wonder what Gareth Southgate is thinking when he has these cautious tactics, because he seems absolutely petrified. His back three had a right back in it. So bearing in mind he had two centre-halves, eventually he went to the formation, he switched the formation, but just play four at the back. Give us another attacker. And I don't understand, it's not just Southgate who's guilty of this, what's happened to all the number 10s? Not just in England. Why do people not play with a number 10 anymore? Obviously you'll pick one or two, but generally we don't. We have these creative players, and I will use Grealish as an example here, pushed out to the margins, sidelined there. Get somebody in the middle, get somebody that can pull the strings, and get somebody with pace in there. Now, Southgate he's done a steadying job. He came in at a time when it weren't a great time for England. But if we're not very, very careful, he's going to waste an awful lot of talent that we got here. And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because I've had my suspicions about Southgate for some time. And this is not the end of the world, okay? It's really not. But England, I quite like the idea of the Nations League. And England aren't good enough to throw away the opportunity of getting a trophy. You've only got one of them, and that was years ago. So I would like us to have stayed in here. I like the fact when we got to the finals last time, and I'd like that. And our players are certainly good enough. But he doesn't pick the right players. He doesn't pick the right formation. And when he does put some of the good players out on the pitch, quite frankly, he's just too cautious. He's too reticent. He's scared. I'll tell you someone else that was scared today. The Belgian players were scared of Jack Grealish. fouling him at every single moment. And the moment that the moment you get a player that's as good as Grealish, get him involved, build the team around him. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. So I've got Alfie. Alfie's just joined, and welcome, Alfie. Alfie's not a regular. He just said, "I'm not a West Ham fan, but I need a place to voice my anger." I'm more annoyed than I think I should be. Put it that way. But when you are watching something, when you are looking at a game unfold and you've seen the lineup, and this is not in hindsight, we said it in the preview. When you've seen the lineup, you know it's not creative enough and you know there's no pace. It is so frustrating that the manager can't see those things. There was a passage of play on 28 minutes. I don't expect anybody to go back and watch that game because it was a painful watch, particularly in that first half. But if you did, right, and watch the passage of play on 28 minutes, it is synonymous with how England played. It was a team devoid of ideas. It was a team trying to pass it around, but not quite having the technique to pass it around. It basically, it all fell down. It fell down with Tyrone Mings. Bless him. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a good centre half. But it was just indicative of the fact that we didn't have the necessary creativity in the right places to break them open. And when we realised that we couldn't get in behind them, did we start looking for crosses? Because Harry Kane's pretty good in the box. No, we didn't even cross it in there. I was thinking, what is going on? And where's the urgency? And then I remember watching Southgate on the touchline, and we had an attack, and he's there clapping. I don't know, why is he clapping? It wasn't good enough. He needed to impact the game, and he needed to change it. I'm sorry to say this. I don't mean that I hope Chilwell is injured. He's got a career-threatening injury, but he went down and Saka to come on. I thought, well, good, because we needed some pace at that point. Now that pace was too deep. There was, I don't know. I take it you must have watched the Sky stream in the same way that I did. Jamie Carragher made a point. He kept on making the point about the front three not operating properly because they don't have pace. But he made a point about Kyle Walker being the fastest player on the pitch. He was right. Absolutely, he was right. But at right centre-back, say to Gary, you should be looking, Gareth, you should be saying, hold on a second, I ain't got enough centre-halves. I know he likes to play him right centre-back. But if you look at the job that, for instance, Cresswell does, Cresswell plays centre-back for West Ham because he can cross the ball over from deep. Kyle Walker doesn't offer that. But I like Kyle Walker. He's a good player. Kyle Walker should be playing at right back and being able to overlap and getting us the pace, getting down the wing and putting over crosses. It's a sin to have a player as good as Harry Kane and not utilise him properly. I just think it was all wrong. By the time he realised what was wrong, he hadn't corrected it. And there was a point this commentator said, England need 3 goals in 30 minutes. Well, you knew it. I knew it. It was clear what he had to do. If we both knew it, then Gareth Southgate certainly knew it as well. At that point, it's time for urgency. It took him too long to get Calvert-Lewin on. It took him too long to get Jadon Sancho on. And it was the initial substitution of Winks for Henderson. It did address part of the problem, which was the lack of creativity in central midfield. Rice and Henderson together, and we look with the West Ham channel. We love Declan Rice. Rice and Henderson together. Not really good, not really creative enough. He addressed that, but it wasn't the major problem. That wasn't the worst of the problems. He still didn't have enough pace. So as Kane had an attacking partner who he could feed off, he didn't have enough pace to basically make the Belgium defence start going further backwards. And he hadn't. It's crazy. And he still hadn't worked out how best to use Grealish. And I'm a bit sick of this Grealish thing because it seems Grealish has to do twice as much as any other player. Why? Because Gareth's suspicious of him. Well, I'm sick of this suspicion. And it's not just Gareth Southgate. We spoke about it in the build-up. It's the suspicion of Gaza. It's the suspicion of Letitia, the suspicion of Hoddle. It's the English way. We're suspicious of these technical players. But you know what? While we're not embracing these technical players, the other teams in the world, they are. It's always the same. England always falls down on the international stage at the very highest level because usually we qualify. We're good enough to qualify for stuff. And Belgium, let's say it, are the best team in the world, or they're ranked number 1 at least. But it always falls down to technique. We do not retain the ball well enough. And this is always the same. We cannot keep looking at suspicion at these players who have wonderful technique, then embracing players like Jordan Henderson are absolute workhorses. Nothing wrong with Jordan Henderson, but you can't have a team full of them. And you look at the goal, the first goal is absolutely indicative of what was wrong. I don't want to beat up too much on any one player, but Dyer is an atrocious footballer. I'm sorry to say it. I think he is. I thought it was a bad ball that he played out to Mount, and I thought it was a bad touch for Mount. I think a quality player comes and he takes that, but it was a bit of a hospital pass that was played out anyway. They're on us. Yeah, after the commentator said it was a bit unlucky because it got deflected. Yes, it did get deflected, but we shouldn't have put ourselves in that position anyway. And you look at the team when we're under pressure and trying to score at the end, and even players, you see these players, they play with Arsenal. Saka plays with Arsenal, good technique. His technique broke down. Even Sancho, Borussia Dortmund, his technique broke down. The only player who seemed to be able, actually no, there was two, because I think Kane did as well. The only player who seemed to be able to keep his head and impact the game in any way, shape or form was Grealish. I'm talking about England here. And I just don't know. I just don't know why we're not building the team around this player. Foden, I really like Foden. Quite frankly, if we were any other team, they wouldn't be saying, "Oh, shall we pick Grealish or Foden or Mount?" A lot of these teams, they'll get all of them in the team. Of course, they'd have a stopper, but you look at Barcelona in their pomp. They still had Busquets back there, and even Mascherano was playing a centre back. And then it was a case of Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, all the others go and do your stuff, go and attack. And in years gone by when we might have only had a Carlton Palmer or a David Batty's and nobody particularly good. That wasn't true, by the way. As I said, we had Letizier's and players like that. We just never played them. Then that's fine. But we got to start playing these players. You've got to start building the team around these players. And I don't know. I'm just very, very disappointed with what I saw. Just looking at the rest of my notes there, our attacks were too slow, just far too slow as well. No option in behind. And I do think that it's a weird one, if this makes any sense to you. The Belgian team identified the danger of Grealish better than we identified the danger of Grealish. And when I say us, I mean Gareth Southgate. They were fouling him. They wouldn't let him have a kick. He was absolutely brilliant. But help him. Southgate has to help him. Southgate has to support him. Southgate has to help Harry Kane. Not good enough. Look, not the end of the world. We've not just lost the World Cup final, all right? And this is the first England game I've ever covered on this channel, and it's something I will look to do again in the future. But it is a funny one. There's a sort of old manageritis, if you like. There's a disease that seems to inflict anybody that gets the manager's job of England, and it doesn't really matter whether it's Capello or Sven or anyone else. They seem to get their favourites, and they seem to become cautious. And if Gareth Southgate's not too careful, I don't think the FA will let him go anytime soon. But he can't keep on doing this. He's got this reputation of being Mr. Nice Guy and all the rest of it. What he needs to be ruthless. He needs to build an attacking team. Sorry, I've just looked at the chat and someone's talking about Dembele. I say the second time I've looked at the chat. I don't know what's going on with the Dembeles. But we could have done with a few of them tonight on the pitch. That's for sure. For anybody who's just watching this and they've never gone to this channel before, it's a bit of a private joke on this channel. Is Dembele. So yeah, I won't labour the point. I won't labour the point too much. But we could have done with a couple of those quick Dembeles. That's for sure. What a difference Rashford would have made today. He's got a decision to make, Gareth Southgate. I think it's clear to one and all, Grealish has to be in the team. No more of this mistrust, no more of this caution. He is a brilliant player. One thing I do know on this channel, it's a West Ham channel, we've got 2 or 3 Aston Villa fans who tune into this channel daily. And, they're going to be really pleased with what they saw today. That much is clear. I just think he's a wonderful player. I could watch him play all day. Really could. And if anything was going to happen, it's going to come from him or Harry Kane. There you go. Not a fantastic night. I'm just going to go to a couple of people are trying to vent in the chat, and you are very welcome. Big Pants has said, Gonzo, we can all see this, so why not Southgate? Hey, Woody, Alan, You've donated. Oh, my good friend. Thank you very much. By the way, James Gunn donated earlier. I did buy a pizza, James. Thank you very much. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't the pizza that was making me feel sick. The performance was so bad. Sebastian, thank you very much indeed. Right, Declan Rice. Let's just quickly talk about the Declan Rice goal here. We have a duty when if we're going to do these England games, we've got to treat Rice like everybody else. And I didn't think he had a good game. So let me say that there. I didn't think Rice had a good game. But I do think, like many of the players, he was hindered by the system. But I don't know if they were playing with a VAR. I don't know what they were doing. I guess it wasn't part of the game. I didn't see it used at any point. But come on. I mean, Rice got the ball and then De Bruyne kicked Rice. What a free kick, though. Let's give him some credit for that. Really, really good. Really good free kick. And they were technically excellent. I thought Lukaku was a massive threat throughout. I guess Southgate will look back on it and he'll think, well, by and large, we kept De Bruyne quiet and all of this sort of stuff. But it's no good if you go on to lose the game. It doesn't matter. I mean, Daniel James is just saying Kane doesn't suit a pacey game. We need someone like Rashford. No, well, Kane does, Daniel. It's just he has to have someone pacey near him. And that I feel is the most criminal thing that happened today. Gareth Southgate, from the moment, and Daniel, you were in there. I remember you were in the preview. We said this in the preview. Where's the pace? You cannot play Kane, Mason Mount, and Jack Grealish as a front three. Now, I think we all agree that Jack Grealish should have really been playing, but it should have been someone quick. Hammer Time has said Walker was awful. Walker was awful. Walker shouldn't be playing at right centre back, by the way. Kieran said it's so boring watching England. No flair. Here's the thing, Kieran. I'll make you 90% right. We did have flair. We did that little 10%. I just kept on wishing the ball on Grealish, wishing it. It's become a bit of a Grealish loving. But this is what happens. I'll tell you, for all the West Ham people in here, and I'm sure we are 99% West Ham in the chat. You remember when remember when Big Sam Allardyce was manager of West Ham? I was desperate for anything. That's what I knew. Zarate wasn't the best player in the world, right? I knew he wasn't the best player in the world, but he gave us something. He gave us a little bit of flair. And it's like Kieran was saying there, you're desperate. You're desperate. So I just want to stop the chat there because I've seen that James has made a point which I want to pick up on. So I don't mean stop the chat. You can still keep posting. I'm just stopping it from scrolling down. I was desperate to see Zarate, desperate to see Ravel Morrison come on, desperate, even though he was playing Joe Cole, was well in his 30s, and he was playing Joe Cole on the wing as another one that never should have been played wide, by the way. Joe Cole was never a winger, should have been played central, as we established before. But I was so desperate for a bit of flair because our team was so functional. And I feel what Kieran's saying there is right. You're desperate. It's painful. That passage of play on 28 minutes was painful. Watching Henderson, watching Rice, watching Mings come up and watching all these guys and then Mount and nobody knowing what to do. Nobody knowing what to do. And for what I said about Raheem Sterling, whilst I do think Raheem Sterling is a little bit overrated. We could have done with him today. We could have done with just one player with pace in the attack. The quickest, we had basically slow players, and the quick one was playing at right centre back. It ain't good enough, and it was embarrassing watching these players. And I'm just thinking, just give it to Grealish. He's the only one that knows what to do. And as I say, I think Kane's always bright. Kane's always good, but Kane must be thinking, "Oh, I'm playing with Tottenham's better than this." He'd never say it. He's a classy operator, Kane. But I just want to say what James has said. He said Southgate's loyalty to players like Pickford will be his downfall. Kane is in incredible form and has to play. You need pacey players around him. Grealish is fine, but you need someone like Sancho or Sterling. Well, there you go. I mean, that's really exactly right. And it's about the teams that win things, by and large. You get the odd freak of nature. Denmark winning the Euros all those years ago. But by and large, the teams that win things keep the ball and they have good technical players. And you cannot pick teams in that way. Square pegs do not go in round holes, and he's doing far too much of that. Well, I think where are the coaches? Where are Southgate's coaches at this point? They must sit down. They must have a team meeting. Southgate doesn't strike me as as an aggressive character who will shout down everyone's opinion. Apparently, Gareth Southgate's I believe Gareth Southgate's a gentleman. Apparently, he's very open to dialogue and whatnot. So he's got these coaches around him. Why isn't anybody, when he's picking these teams, turning around and saying to me, I'm the England manager, why isn't anybody saying to him, that front line, I can't pick that front line, Gaffer, it's too slow? Why isn't somebody saying to him, are you sure about that as a central midfield? You can play two stoppers in there like that. You can. But you've got to have one of two things or both happening. You either have pace in front of them, which scares the opposition, gives you an out ball so you can play it over the top and also makes the opposition sit further back. Or in front of that two, you play a 1, a number 10 buzzing around. Our formation don't allow you to do that. We know that. We see that with West Ham. By the end, Grealish was everywhere, trying to go right, left, just trying to impact the game. But that should tactically be part of the plans anyway. You shouldn't wait. I don't know. I just don't know why none of the coaches are saying, this ain't going to work, this ain't going to work. And then Southgate would look at it and say, do you know what? Yeah, you're right. And I feel a little bit sorry for Mason Mount, actually, because he was played completely out of position today. He looked useless. I mean, a lot of the England team really did look useless. Let me just a little scroll down the chat. James again says Grealish is class. He works so hard. Be great for a player to play at 10. Exactly what I'm saying. Happy Hammerster, don't know why Winks is there. He must be Kane's backup dancer. I don't know. I understand why he made that change, but it was too little, too late, and there were more changes that needed to be done first. Abdullah says we need Wenger. Do you know what? Funny enough, actually, Wenger would put technical players in there. I guess we'd probably be screaming saying the defence is no good. But anyway, Southgate is too dependent on his former 21 players. Vardy should be in the team. Ben Davis said, should we be worried about playing Scotland? No, we shouldn't. But this is the point. We're always fine at beating teams like Scotland. But when we come to the top level, the very top level, all those other teams, be it Belgium, be it Spain, Germany, France, they have far more technical players than we do. Look at the France team. It's frightening. It's technique and it's pace. Today, we had no Grealish aside, all right, and Walker aside, but you know what I'm saying. One player doesn't do it. We had no technique and no pace. You cannot win international football matches with no technique and no pace. I bang on about it about West Ham. Because, it's hard enough for West Ham in the Premier League with no technique and no pace. Sometimes you can grind it out. The higher you go up, if you've not got quick players and you've got technically good players who can control the football quickly and play with their head up, then you're not going to stand a chance. Will we beat Scotland? Yes. But anything beyond that, no. We'll always beat the decent teams, get out of the group, come up against a good team, and we're no good. Jason said, okay, let's give the opposite angle. Jason says, I don't know what you lot are on about. We played really well. We lost because of a deflection and free kick. That should have been. Kane is absolutely world class. Well, I think Kane is world class. I think we're two world class players, and I think Grealish one of them, Kane's the other one. But I think clearly you're right. That's how they scored both goals. And I think here's the thing. I think I make you right on the goals, Jason. And I've already said in this, I thought we had them scared. But the point is, when you're scared, if you've got a boxer and you've got someone on the ropes, you go for the kill. But we didn't. We picked the wrong team. We picked the wrong tactics. We didn't know where to put the players. It was not, and it became a desperate thing at the end. You will look at that game today and you'll see the stats at the end and you'll say, oh, that looks about even Steven, but it wasn't. It doesn't tell the whole story. The whole story was we made lots of chances at the end because we were desperate because we'd let the game go. That's what I think about that one. Anyway. So Fo Sheezy, hello mate, how are you? I hope you're well. He said, Gonzo, our strength in the World Cup was set pieces. We don't focus on them anymore. No, the thing is, England's set piece coach in the World Cup was Paul Nevin, who's now at West Ham. So no, they had a specialist, set piece specialist. James Gunn, get Poch in for a year. England are overrated. Are they? Are they overrated? I don't think so. I don't think anyone suggests that. I was just about to say, I don't think anyone suggests England are the best. And I read a message saying England are the best from Hammer Time. Where are we? Always try and shoehorn. We always try and shoehorn players into the team, but not in their positions. It doesn't work. That's what Andy says. This is right. Round pegs in round holes. Sebastian says, I'm not even from England, but I still feel the tension. Here's the thing, Sebastian. Here's the thing. This is not even... I'm not even that bothered about this game. This is not about this game. I would have liked to get the Nations Cup. This is about the bigger picture. This is why I'm annoyed. Because I can see what's going to happen in the future. I can see it. I can see the quarterfinals when it matters. This is the problem. Miggsy said, let's face it, Martinez isn't that good either. Look, okay, Vernon says, thing is with Kane, he's labelled world class, but he plays for cereal bottlers. Kane is a quality player. Chris Green says, bring in Ogbonna. There we go. I'll tell you what, we'd be banned by FIFA when we bring in the Italian international. Shane says England do lack technical players. They have for a long time. It's probably a cultural and coaching issue. I think you're right. Up until this point, if we said, Shane, in the build-up, that actually you look at the under 16s, 17s, 18s, we win these tournaments now. We do have technical players, but you have to play them. You have to play them. We still don't trust. Mark, evening, mate. He said, keep talking, mate. I'm going to run out of things to say in a minute, so I'm going to wrap things up very, very, very shortly. We passed it, Abdullah says, we passed the Southgate waistcoat era. Look, that was a bit of a loving. The goatee beard, the waistcoat. It was a time, and I think at that particular time, based on the fact that we've been so awful beforehand, we had something to get behind. And a Trippier free kick and all of that sort of stuff was good. And Kane was, at that point seemed to be one of the best strikers in the world. And it was a good time. But at some point you've got to push on. So maybe we are, Abdullah, past the waistcoat era, quite possibly. You have two players who are on top of their game at the moment, and they are not in the team. Antonio Cresswell. Hammer Time says, where's Gio's comments? This is very unbiased. I'm sure Gio's got his own thought. I'm sure Gio is very happy that England have lost tonight anyway. How good would England be with Moisey as manager? The funny thing is, I think we may well be equally frustrated tonight because I think Moisey would have played that system. It's a move. It will never happen anyway. But funny enough, he had. I love Moisey, and he's decent for West Ham. Gareth Southgate's very different. Gareth Southgate's got some of the most wonderful players. And Sancho will go for 100 million. I doubt you could buy Rashford for 100 million. I know they weren't playing tonight, but this is not just about tonight. This is about overall what England are like. He's got players at his disposal that he doesn't utilise correctly. James Gunn said Maddison doesn't even get into the squad. Foden hardly plays for England. It's another. We're not even discussed him today. Maddison. We do have some technical players. So Sebastian says you're not wrong, Gonzo. There's a bigger picture, but England aren't really using their resources fully, which is exactly right. Cripple. Is that say Cripple Sunday one? Says, but seriously, Southgate frustrates me. Likeable guy, yes. It feels like Hodgson kept picking. Obviously, the wrong formations lineup. It's got a very Hodgson like feel to it. Definitely. Alan says, going back to the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, the English clubs dominated European club football, mainly English and British players. But the England team still won nothing. Yeah, I mean, I says Gio's got a video talking about Rice, has he? Hey, there you go. I'd be interested to know what Gio thought of today. Do you know what? I'm going to go at you and watch that video because I'm sure there's probably more people watching that than this one anyway. But how did I think Rice played today? Pretty poorly, quite frankly. But I felt sorry for him. I felt he was stifled. I felt Henderson was in his way. I felt Mings was in his way sometimes as well, believe it or not. I thought that whole left side wasn't functioning. He was playing it on the left side of the left side of midfield. The whole team wasn't functioning. But that wasn't a great performance from Rice, but you could pick many of them out. I think you would have seen a better performance from Rice and a better performance from some of the others had we had a proper formation, some fast players in there and some more technical players. Right, listen, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thank you everybody for joining in. There's 200 people watching live. I never expected that, not on these England ones. So I'll continue. I'll do it in the future. We've got a good video tomorrow, by the way. I'll upload it a little bit later in the morning. We're discussing the West Ham finances. It appears West Ham have borrowed 100 million quid is going to be the title of the video. And yeah, I was a little, I've got a guest on for that. I was a little bit shocked. I'm going to go and finish editing it now. So it's ready for you. Lovely lot. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for watching the, I was going to say thank you for watching this. Actually, I should probably thank you for watching the England game. It was so bad. You deserve a medal and probably something. You probably deserve a nice hot cup of cocoa. I was going to say to get you off to sleep. Probably that performance probably get you off to sleep. Right. Okay. Yeah. Please do. As Andy said, please do drop a like on the video. I apparently it helps out. I don't know if it does. One other thing, it was who said it? I think it was Steve 50 said earlier. He didn't get a notification for the video. If you're subscribed onto this channel, just check underneath the subscribe button. There's a little bell. Literally, it's looks like a little bell. You press that, you get the notification just in case anybody didn't. Although I would suggest the fact there are 200 people watching would suggest that it's definitely popped up on YouTube at some point. Thank you for everybody. I am sorry if I didn't get to anybody in. I'm reading Karen Brady out. Thank you, Andy, for looking after the chat. Thank you. Sorry if I didn't read out any of your comments. I will next time. Take care now. Bye bye.